Well, joining me in the studio now is Somaya Ouazzani. She is the co-founder of the NGO Children Mot Numbers. Thank you so much, Somaya, for joining us in the studio right now. So you were listening there, of course, to our correspondents. They were talking about, the politics, but also this fear that not enough aid is coming into Gaza. Is that what you're witnessing on the ground? Take us through it.
I think there is an incorrect assumption that phase one of the ceasefire means that the conditions for civilians in Gaza has significantly improved, and it hasn't. I mean, this week alone, we've seen nearly 10 children, 10 babies die from the severe cold. We're seeing everyday children admitted, babies under one, admitted to hospital with frostbite, because you've got civilians living in and amongst 200,000 tonnes of rubble. There is literally nowhere for people to move to. And even though we've got our own team on the ground of nearly 60 people, and they're moving up and down the Gaza Strip to find somewhere to locate themselves because they're returning to their homes, and it is literally just piles and piles of rubble. And we've even seen children killed since the phase one of the ceasefire started, die from buildings collapsing on top of them. We're seeing insufficient aid coming in. We're still having to spend, huge sums of money on food distribution because families still can't access the nutritional requirements that they need. The medical infrastructure is still completely decimated. So although we're not seeing children that are charred and dismembered and injured at the pace at which we were before the phase one came in, we're still seeing children die needlessly because there's just insufficient aid, insufficient infrastructure for civilian life.
So how do you try to ensure then that the people aren't lost? Because, we're living in a heightened world where there's so much going on globally. How do you, organisations like yourself, ensure that, your voice is heard and that the people on the ground in Gaza, and especially the people that you help, children, get the help that they need?
So we're a medical legal NGO, so our focus is optimising the care of the treatment for children in Gaza. And if we can't do that, which is 9 times out of 10 the case, we then have to look at medically evacuating them. So this week, thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Turkey and the Koch Group, we were able to evacuate 4 children who'd arrived from Gaza in Cairo to Turkey for life-saving treatment because it's just not available to them in Gaza. So medical evacuation is unfortunately something that we have to rely on. So that means separating children from their families. It means displacing them from their homeland, potentially permanently or for indefinite periods of time, which shouldn't be happening. We're seeing children actually becoming far sicker than they should be because they haven't accessed that medication or that treatment that they should have many, many months before. We're talking about almost 17 months of this. And we're talking about barely any hospitals standing. I mean, what civilian life can survive without that? And if you look at the scale of the attack on Gaza and that 70% of those people that were affected were women and children, I mean, the situation remains catastrophic. We've been saying that since, October 8th. The situation remains catastrophic.
I mean, you were saying that you have 60 people on the ground. The situation is so catastrophic. I mean, we see it. We see the pictures of the rubble. Gaza is basically a wasteland. So how can you keep effecting change then? And how long do you think it will take you to actually make a difference?
I mean, the fact that bombs and bullets have stopped has enabled us to do more and more freely. So patients can move in and around hospitals. It means that aid can get in, still not at the right pace and at the right scale, but it has made it easier to preserve or enhance life. That includes things like opening schools and now initiating orphan support programmes. But everything is still in a really, really bad shape. And I think unless we actually move now into a sustained ceasefire, which includes proper provision to allow aid in at the pace it needs to, things aren't going to improve. And we need to see a better international response from governments. The UK still today, 17 months on, nearly has never accepted a single child for medical treatment.
And they also want to cut international aid.
And they also want to cut international aid, absolutely. And that means, therefore, that we have to end up relying on, philanthropic gestures like Koch Holdings, which is a private foundation that is supporting these children to receive the treatment that governments are not willing to provide.
Well, listen, we really hope that you can do the work that is so vital on the ground in Gaza. And thank you so much for joining us on the programme. Thank you so much.